Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Join the Journey Challenge. Back for another check-in. It's been a minute. I don't know if you noticed, but it's been a little over a week since I've recorded a check-in. So I could tell you that I just got busy with other things, which would be half of the story. But since this project is about honesty and self-awareness, I'm going to tell you the real story, or the other half of the story is that I think I've gotten stuck in the planning phase for my next painting. So I'm calling myself out. I'm realizing that that's what's going on here. I've sort of been stalling a bit, and I don't know, maybe you can relate to this. Maybe you have a paper to write and you have a vague idea of like what your thesis is going to be, but do you ever find yourself just like putting it off, telling yourself, oh, I want to think about it some more, or my idea is not really clear yet, I'm going to wait until I get a clearer idea, and then you just keep waiting and waiting and waiting and nothing changes. So that's where I am. That's where I've been for the past week. And I used to also do this when I had papers to write, and I learned that really what I needed to do is I needed to always write out the thesis, get it out of my head and onto paper, put it in concrete terms and words, and then time myself, like just put a timer on for like 15 minutes to just work out an outline, just write a really rough outline, just sketch it out, and usually that would kick me into gear, and then I would see very clearly what I have and what I'm lacking. And a lot of times, even just the act of writing the outline would bring up more ideas and kind of fill in some of those gaps that I had when it was just up here. So I am applying that same approach now to this next painting. So I've been doing some sketching because that's like an action, that's an action step that moves it out of my head and onto the paper. But that's part of it, right? So there's something else going on here too. And I think that has to do with building up expectations in my mind of what I'm capable of, and then fear that I won't be able to meet those expectations. So I think this has to do with like the past 3 pieces, I've had pretty low expectations because, I'm just getting back into painting. I'm, really learning this medium almost as if it were completely new to me. So I sort of went into those with like the, just like the beginner's innocence, I guess, if you will. And now that I've done those 3 and I feel like, they turned out pretty well, then obviously I need to keep doing that. I need to keep creating good finished pieces. But you see what is happening there is I'm building these expectations and I'm focusing on the finished product rather than just the process, which is what this whole project is about, right? Embracing the process, finding joy in the journey. So it's just so funny to me and kind of fascinating how I can continue to fall into those traps. And also, I've already learned the lesson of how clarity often comes through action, and a lot of times what I need to do is just start the painting and just begin that process of translating it from up here onto the canvas, and then kind of negotiating with it and letting it evolve as I go. kind of letting it evolve organically, and solving some of those questions by just doing it, and by, you know, trial and error, seeing, okay, well, if I use this color, does this work? Maybe I need to change directions, you know, as I've seen with my other paintings. So right now I need to apply those lessons, once again, you know, clarity through action. It's the action that generates the inspiration, and just taking one step after the next, moving out of the abstract, you know, idea in my head and bringing it into physical reality. So, but that's the hardest part. I truly think that that's the hardest part, and I think that that's why I've gotten sort of paralyzed here. Just the combination of, I'm gonna call it like pre-painting paralysis. Maybe you can call this pre-paper paralysis if you notice the same thing when you have a paper to write. It's sort of like hesitating because you know that once you move out of the abstract and it becomes reality, there's gonna be that gap, and you have to work through that and solve all of those things. And yes, that's work, but it's also the joy of it, and the excitement is seeing where it goes, letting it evolve organically. And where was I going with that thought? Sorry, just lost my train of thought. Right, so moving into action is what is happening next. I guess that's it. Oh yeah, and letting go of expectations, or just like lowering the expectations. So what if I just thought of this next painting as like almost like a study? And I think I'm going to work on an abstract idea that I had. It's an image that came through in a poem that I wrote a few years ago, and I was revisiting some of my old journals and reading some of the poems that I had written back in, I think it was 2017. So this is something that came up in one of them, and it's an image that I want to create. But what if I just think of this as like a study in oil paints, because I'm switching to oil now. So again, that's sort of, you know, the learning curve of a slightly new medium, new materials, and just sort of like practice maybe for the next piece, instead of putting so much pressure on myself to produce like that finished work, you know, that I'm proud of. Anyway, that was a lot. So hopefully you got something out of that. That's where I have been mentally. And I guess I'll leave it at that for now. Maybe I will combine this with another check-in later today if I have something worth showing you, or if not, maybe tomorrow or the next day. Anyway, thanks for joining me for the ride once again. And just know that I'm thinking of you, I'm sending love your way, cheering you on in your journey. We are in the final leg, last month of the challenge, November. So just a few more weeks to go, and let's make the most of it. Let's enjoy and show ourselves what we're capable of. Okay, signing off for now. I will check back in again. Woo! All right, bye for now.